So, hello and welcome everybody to another episode with us at the Centre for Health and Wellness of Earth. Today we've got some very special guests, Mark and Julie. Mark and Julie are from Step Into Tranquility. They are passionate about promoting natural well-being and living a life filled with joy, deeply rooted in the serene beauty of rural Spain. Step Into Tranquility was born from their desire to blend these passions into a unique retreat experience that offers transformational wellness journeys. Their retreats invite you to discover the tranquility and rejuvenation that this peaceful part of the world has to offer, providing a sanctuary for holistic health and personal growth. Welcome, Mark and Julie.
Hi,
Hi,
Jonathan.
Jonathan. Thanks for the
Hey.
introduction.
Yes,
Okay.
no, thank you. And it's really great to meet you. We've been chatting on and off for a bit now, and I'm really, really excited to have you on today.
Thank you.
So yeah, tell us all about it. And we understand that Mark, you have a quite amazing story in recovering, experiencing and recovering the big cancer for this purpose spelt with a K. But we look forward to hearing about your story. Do you want to just introduce yourselves a bit and tell us
Yeah, no,
everything you want to
absolutely.
start?
Absolutely. So I think basically I'll start myself as it wasn't, I haven't never been ill as such. I'm one of them very fortunate people. I'm ex-military. I was in Desert Storm, all that good stuff. Then I became a professional squash player. So I've always been kind of active. Luckily, at the tender age of 58, I've always been relatively well. Um, and basically, I've moved around a little bit nomadic over the years. So we relocated to Spain around 10 years ago and officially become resident here 5 years ago, just before the EU broke up, etc. Luckily, we found a microclimate within Spain that's just adorable, that most tourists aren't aware of, although a lot of people, do visit here basically. So yes, that's myself. I think Julie has, where our dream came from and what we're doing now and fulfilling now, basically. And it is really a dream coming true. It's moving at such a pace. Is basically all based on the scenario where with Julie, basically. But it always takes two to tango. For example, when you get a serious illness, it always affects somebody. That was me, because at the time, Julie had a 7-year-old son who I've since adopted, and now calls me dad, which is really nice. So that's a win from my side of the story. But I think Julie will be able to explain exactly her little bit about background and how we come to meet and how it's all affected and started this dream of ours, basically.
So me. So yeah, in 2017, I had a bit of a surprise diagnosis of that common illness that begins with the C, and they predicted that I would have only 3 to 6 months to live, which isn't very long, really, is it? So
Oh,
that was
I beg your pardon, Julie. I confused your story with Mark. So thank you.
No, it's no problem. It's okay. So
no problem. And yeah, so I decided, obviously, everything that they were offering me at that time was that there was no cure for my situation. Everything was palliative, and even with everything on offer, the prognosis just wasn't good. And so I just decided that I would go a different way entirely, and so turned down the kind offer that I was made, and just decided that I would do what I could to bring my body back into balance. So just thought about what if we didn't have toxins in the world, if we had really good nutrition, if we were eating real food, you know, not in a packet, wrapped in plastic, with things that we can't pronounce and don't actually know what they are listed on the back, what would that diet look like? And would that be healthy? You kind of go, I'm sure that must be healthy to have things that I know what they are, that I, you know, not necessarily grow myself, but because I didn't have very long, obviously, but things that you kind of recognize and you can buy loose, maybe. And so primarily fruits and vegetables. And I started to go down a very kind of radical route. I cut loads and loads and loads of things out of my life and just went back to a really solid foundation of natural things, basic things, things that come from the earth, and as organic as possible. And I know that we probably are all aware that very little here is actually fully organic because it's all been farmed at some point, wind blows stuff across and all of those different things. But to get something, even if it's only 30% better than produce that isn't labelled that way, is still a massive improvement. And so I started doing all of that. I made a point of increasing my fruit and veg intake to 20 portions a day, which I know some people find, you know, a huge number. And it is a lot if you have to chew it. So I did a lot of juicing. And I know that there's always massive controversy when you say to people, if you say to people, oh, I'm going to go on a hen weekend, I'm going to go to Vegas, we're going to drink loads of, we're going to have champagne, we're going to have shots, we're going to eat burgers, I'm going to, you know, I'm just going to party really hard. I don't think I'm going to sleep very much. We're just going to go wild. It's going to be insane. We're going to eat big chocolate desserts. People would go, that sounds really fun. And when you say to somebody, oh, I'm just going to try like a little juice cleanse. I'm just going to, you know, like I'm just going to juice for 3 or 4 days. They go, oh, is that safe? Have you asked your doctor about that? You know, like, do you think you're going to be getting all your nutrients? Which is really bonkers, right? It's totally like, what nutrients are you getting from champagne and burgers? It's just really strange how we've become conditioned to think that doing certain things, which kind of we know, if we were to sit down and think about, we know are unhealthy, but doing those things is completely normal and people just kind of almost pat you on the back for doing them. And when you say, I'm just going to have fruit and veg, I'm just going to have, people are worried. They're worried about you, like, and they think that you need to consult someone. So, yeah, interesting, very, very interesting conversations I've had with people. Not at the time because I didn't tell people, but you know, subsequently, I still do. You know, we juice every day and do juice fasts from time to time, and it's really interesting that when you go public with stuff like that, the kind of feedback that you get, and you never get a pat on the back. Like nobody ever says, "Oh, well done. That's really great. That's really healthy." No one ever says that. And so, yeah. So going back then, kind of set my protocol for the 20 portions of fruit and veg a day. Did a lot of juicing. Did a lot of sleeping. You know, it wasn't something I was big on before that. I was always like hustle, stay up late, get more done. I had a child, so getting up early was part of the territory. And so yeah, just used to forfeit sleep a lot. But you know, my body said, well, you really need to rest, you really need to sleep. I didn't really have much choice about that. I was just exhausted. And did a lot of meditation and trauma meditation and breath work, and just really thinking about how would it be if I was living a more natural life? Like, what would a natural life look like? And was allowed to go back for scans, which is really good because I've heard of somebody sick. I was talking to somebody recently who, when they turned down the traditional option, they were banned from having
Yeah. Yeah.
any scans or anything. You've probably heard that before. And so
Yes.
I was allowed to go, which I didn't realize at the time how lucky I was, but I was allowed to go, and an interesting thing started to happen. Like, it started to disappear, and my body just became more and more well.
Just to explain on
And
that as well, it's in 4 different parts of Julie's body and spreading at one stage. So hence the 3 months to live, basically. They didn't know what to do with it. So just to show you the complications that were involved, basically.
and
Yeah,
so
thank you.
yeah, and so yeah, I just started to get more and more well. And within 18 months, and I say 18 months, and it's a bit sort of like, it's a bit, maybe a bit sort of misguiding to say 18 months, because we actually moved during the process and I kind of fell out of my pattern. And so, well, we moved twice actually. And so I fell out of my pattern. And so I didn't actually have any scan for 10 months. But when I'd had a scan in the November, I still had some of that thing in one place, only one place at that stage. And 10 months later, when I had the following scan, and of course I just kept feeling more and more well and everything. And when I had the next one, 10 months later, it was all gone, all of it. No scars,
Wow.
nothing. Like
Wow.
no sign of anything anywhere. And so I say within 18 months, it could have actually happened within 12. I don't actually like,
Yeah.
but definitely in less than 18 months. And that final scan, or that scan that I'm talking about, the one that gave me the happy news, that was over 6 years ago now. So I'm actually
Wow.
doing pretty well for a dead person. So and when I was in a situation where you could say that I actually wasn't very well, I didn't really tell anyone. Obviously told Mark, but I didn't tell Max, because he was only
He was 7 when he
eight,
first
wasn't he?
started dating.
He was 8 then. And so I didn't tell him, and I didn't tell family, I didn't tell friends. It was really only on an absolute need to know basis. Like, if somebody really needed to know, I told them, but if they didn't need to know, then I didn't. And because I didn't want their opinions, I didn't want their grief, I didn't want their emotional response. I didn't want to have to
Yeah.
deal with whatever they thought about it.
Yes.
Because I had enough you'll probably understand this yourself.
Yeah.
I had enough to deal with, just trying to deal with my own with and obviously Mark. And that's a lot.
That's where I come into it.
Yeah.
It's not easy as a partner.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that as well, basically. So, that's
Yeah.
where I can shed a little bit of light as well, when people need to ask that kind of
Yeah.
question. So,
But this year, and sort of strange really, sort of all this time on, this year, we were talking about it earlier this year. Mark's dad passed away last year, and we were sort of talking about that and talking about his passing, and he passed away with the same condition, and
Yeah.
which came on very quickly, and it all went extremely quickly within 3 months from
Yeah.
beginning to gone. And I think he was kind of ready for that. Mark's mum had passed away a few years before, and he was just, it was time, like he was content to go. And so, and we were talking about that, and we were talking about, obviously there's been a lot of things that could have been the catalyst for his situation. And so Mark was saying to me, like, would you ever tell anyone? Because you could, you could help people, like you could help
Yeah.
people if
Yeah.
you could help them. So we talked about it, and I said, well, I can't really tell people unless I tell Max and my mother. Like, unless I
Yeah.
tell those two people, I can't really tell anyone, because I can't risk them finding out from somebody, not me.
Yes.
And
Yes. Absolutely.
so that was a really big step. And I told my mother was here in February. Um, and I told her when she was here, and it took me days and days and days to, I kept thinking, I must tell her while she's here. I must tell her in person. She lives in the UK, we're in Spain. I must tell her in person. I must tell her when she's here. If I'm going to do it, I've got to do it. If I'm going to do it, I've got to do it while she's here. Oh my goodness, it's been another day. It's another day closer to her leaving. If I'm going to do it, I must do it while she's here. And I just like that just kept rattling round in my head. And then it's like, I'll do it tomorrow. You know, that famous thing that we put everything off, I'll do it tomorrow. And eventually I told her, I think she'd already been here about 6 days before I got to it. And she was just like, oh, okay. And just like, it was just a really kind of non-event almost.
Bit of an anticlimax.
Yeah, yeah. I started off by saying, I've got something to tell you. It sounds really scary. It's not. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something that sounds really scary, and then I'm going to tell you something that's really not scary. And actually, everything's okay. But the first thing that I say is going to sound terrible. And so I told her, and she said, oh, and you didn't tell me because you thought I would have an opinion. Yeah. Oh, okay, then, she said. That was it. Like, no real questions, no real.
It was anticlimax, I think, because obviously Julie was
Yeah.
expecting the worst, and
Yeah.
worry, and from Max as well, because Max is now 14, 15.
15.
So that
Yeah.
was the problem. So,
But yeah, and then I didn't tell Max until Easter, which I can't remember what month that was in this year, but I didn't tell him until Easter. And it took me ages and ages to, like, I kept thinking, I must tell him. Oh, I can't tell him now because he's got to go to bed in an hour, and I don't want it to play on his mind. And then, oh, he's got school tomorrow, so I better not tell him during the week. And yeah, it just went on and on and on. But it was him, and he was the one, the catalyst, really. He said, you have to tell people. Like, you
Yeah.
absolutely have to
Yeah.
tell people. It's no
Yeah.
good saying, and he's a massive fan of that video-based social media platform that begins with a Y. And so he's a massive fan. He watches loads of stuff. And a few of the people that make their living by creating video content for the platform that he was really interested in, and he used to watch all their content, have actually passed away from this same condition. And so for him, like, I was glad, I knew that I had to tell him one day, because I wanted to take the fear out of it, because he'd started to get a bit frightened about, people get this thing and then the
Yeah.
natural thing
Yeah.
is pass away. So I'd wanted to kind of fear it for him, and actually sort of say to him, it doesn't have, like, that doesn't actually have to be what happens. But it was just like picking the right stage and the right age to tell him. But yeah, what he actually said to me is, you have to write a book, which I haven't done, by the way, yet. He said, you have to write a book. And he
Maybe
said,
tomorrow.
maybe tomorrow. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do
tonight,
it tomorrow,
tonight's
Jonathan.
fine. So,
And
Yeah.
but he said, write a book. And he said, probably no one will read it. He said, but maybe one person will read it,
Yeah.
and it will help them. And then, because it helps them, they'll tell somebody, and then someone else will read it. And he said it
Yeah.
could take years and years and years before people
Yeah.
are really interested to read it. But if you only help one person, then it's enough. And so it's like, okay, then, wise owl. And I call him my advisor, because at 15 he knows everything. So and then we'd been starting to say about like this is a great place for people to come. It's one of the healthiest places in Europe. We get awarded like all of these different accolades and everything for the health benefits of being in this region. And we started to say, wouldn't it be great if we could encourage people to come here and just like unwind and de-stress and detox? And then it just kind of developed from there into what you mentioned at the beginning, our step into tranquility.
Well, it started really before that. So, yeah, when Julie was about 2 years ago, basically 2.5 years ago, we moved to this area. It's got a microclimate here. It's surrounded by mountains. It's absolutely gorgeous. We have wild boar running up to the garden. We have deer. You know, it's very beautiful in the middle of nowhere, basically. And we started exploring around, and we saw a lot of derelict houses, basically, with huge amounts of kind of history behind them. Everything from, you know, when villages have closed down, basically, and then being repopulated by Mallorcans, for example. So incredible amounts of history, and we love the idea of the building side, etc. So that's what really got our interest. And then eventually what we decided to do is actually invest in 3 or 4 properties, basically. At the time, we weren't too sure what to do with them, but we thought our money was safe in housing property, and that's proven to be the case as well. So we're very happy about that. It's not going to make us a millionaire or anything like that, but it's very secure, and it's, you know, we made a little bit of money on it. And what we've done since is I've literally worked hands-on for about half a year. I wish I hadn't, because it's definitely affected me. But basically, we've got one house now virtually renovated with everything on, basically, and it's got a huge amount of histories. We've left certain things in the building, like the living room has a little circle around where the donkey used to be tied to and kept in the house, basically, which is now a living room. We've created an outside space which has a sauna, and this kind of thing, basically. So it all started with the derelicts, and we're now looking for other properties, which took us into a different part of the business. So first of all, we were into property, and then we said the idea was, what do we do with the property? And we looked at walking holidays, we looked at cycling holidays, that type of thing. But what we found once Julie came to the decision that she was going to be open about her past life, basically, we said, you know, well, why don't we go down the holistic? Because Julie has been studying it now over 7 years. She's interviewed many people, debated many people, from doctors to follow, you know, holistic fans, etc. Basically, cancer patients, you name it, basically. So we said, why don't we go down the holistic route, basically? And obviously with the properties, some are off grid. So we're talking about eco environment, taking air out of the sky to create water, all this kind of good stuff. It's a fascinating subject, actually, especially here. So we've got on top of that with the property side, and then we've been focusing over the last 18 months on the holistic retreats, or health resets, as we call them, basically. That's where we're doing. So we've kind of founded companies and all this kind of stuff. So it's all very, very above board, very legal, because obviously this is what we're extremely interested in, what we're doing. We're not doing it to make a buck, so to say. Obviously, there's a commercial element to it. But yeah, so basically, we've got the properties which we own. And we have the holistic retreats now that we're going to utilize the properties for, basically. The holistic side is that's also split into a couple of areas, basically. So obviously, what we can do is provide the coaches. So one part of the solutions we can provide is the actual one-to-one coaching, which could be a 6-month period. It could be a 6-month period where you spend a week with Julie, myself, etc., and all the team, actually, as well. We've got holistic people with us on our team now, from Reiki to reflexology, that type of thing, basically.
Brilliant.
One solution we provide. The other solution is your typical, shall I say, retreats, where it's a 7-day stay with us, or from 7 days.
Or not typical retreats,
Sorry.
actually. typical. Because when we were looking at some of the things available, we sort of like looked at yoga retreats, and when you drill down, it's 45 minutes of yoga and 2 bottles of wine.
Awesome.
Daily. And we were like, yeah, that's not really like what we want to do is like a proper health reset. People
Yeah,
come and have a
yeah.
proper health reset. So we're totally plant-based, not including fermented grapes. And
You've
and
lost Liz already.
yeah, she's just like, no, it's not for me. So yeah, nothing, no alcohol, and just plant-based, raw. So all of the enzymes are still fully intact to give people a massive nutrient boost. And we give them a mix of just like raw meals, but beautifully prepared and put together, and juices and blends, so sort of smoothie blends, and yeah, then lots of different other things. So meditation, automatic writing, yoga, and breath work, time in nature,
Yeah,
which is just fabulous here.
yeah, yeah,
And the treatments, like Mark already mentioned, the treatments, so Reiki, reflexology,
yeah.
massage,
Yeah, one of our
acupuncture.
the property I did mention earlier, right, will be ready also in by December. So from January, in that particular, we've got a sauna there. We're just partnering up with a ice
Oh my
bath
goodness.
company
Oh my
who's
goodness.
got who's
Do you,
actually who's,
do you do
You've
those,
ticked
Jonathan?
every single box. And
Are you
what's
coming?
what? Yeah, absolutely. I'm there. Well, I'm going to Torrevieja at some point, so we're coming on the way back. But what? Sorry to interrupt. I'm just blown away because have you come across Barbara O'Neill?
Heard of her.
Okay, so she's pretty good at what she does, and I recently went to a conference of hers, and she spelled out what she recommended to heal a plethora of disease, including the big C and everything. And
yeah.
everything you mentioned was on her list, and you've just ticked the last one with the ice bath, hot bath. So she recommends, she talks about the sleep, she talks about the breathing, she talks about the sun. You've got the sun. She talks about the diet in exactly the same way you've talked about, particularly recommending green leaf vegetables. Um, Absolutely incredible. And from what I understand, Judy, you worked all this out by yourself. When did you become so wise? How did you do that?
Just born that way, Jonathan. Just born that way. Just like no. So my backstory. Have we got time for a little bit of backstory?
Yeah, absolutely, please.
Yeah, so my backstory is that when I was 18, which is obviously just a few years ago, when I was 18, I got really, really bad, like horrendous pain in the bottom right-hand side of my torso, which they thought was appendicitis. They thought, and so I got rushed to hospital, and they told me that they were going to take my appendix out. Luckily for me, the surgery the theatre had to be prepared because it was out of regular hours. And while they were doing that, they did a test, and they said to me, oh, actually, you haven't got appendicitis, but we're going to do the surgery anyway. And I said, I don't think so. I don't want that. So they
Yeah,
kept me in hospital for 5 days. And when I left, I had to take, I can't remember how many different varieties, but it totted up to 19 different actual like pastils, pills every day. Now, this is based on the fact that they didn't know what was wrong with me. Like, just take this concoction and you will feel better. And I don't know whether I like used them all up or whether I just got fed up with taking them all. I can't remember, but that was that. A couple of years on, working with a lady, she's hospitalized with stomach pain. A couple of times she takes a lot of time off work. And me and a colleague went around to see her. And it turned out that obviously she'd had some kind of pain or whatever, and she'd taken a painkiller. And then she'd got this really bad stomach pain, and she'd gone to the doctor and they prescribed stronger painkillers. and she'd taken them, and then she got hospitalized and she got something even stronger. And what was actually happening was the strength of what she was being prescribed was destroying the lining of her stomach, and that was where the pain was coming from.
Yeah.
So actually
Yeah.
what she was prescribed was what
Yeah.
was causing the problem.
Yeah.
And really, that was like, you know, wanting to do unnecessary surgery, wanting to give me pills for like no good reason, without knowing what for. I'd kind of accepted that because I was raised to just think, well, you just do whatever you're told to do in those kind of circumstances. But it didn't really sit very well. And especially like the moment that it all kind of started to click together was with this colleague who her baby was caused by that. And then when I was 23, I got ME, which is like, you know, the chronic fatigue syndrome. And I was in bed, like completely in bed for 4 months, off work for 6, and then my sick pay ran out, and I had to, like, I knew I had to go back to work because I couldn't afford to like not have any money. And so I started going back to work, but I'd go back for a day, I'd be off sick for 2 days, I'd go in for a day, then I'd be off again. And I sat down with myself and I thought, this is like a ridiculous, like I can't carry on living like this. And so I just made a deal with myself. Obviously, said to my body, obviously not well. And I can't just expect myself to be able to do everything really quickly, like immediately. So I'm going to give myself 18 months from the day that I first to the day that it's going to be over. Like that whole period will be 18 months. But when 18 months is up, I'm going to be well and it's going to be behind me, and I'm going to be fine. And that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. And somewhere in that process, I met a girl, and she was going to see this very unusual lady, a lady called Jane, and she was going to see her. And this lady called Jane was dowsing. I don't know if you've come across dowsing.
Yes, absolutely.
And she used to make you take your shoes off, and she would put one of her feet onto one of your feet, and then she would swing a pendulum over this massive long list of different foods and food groups. And she would tell you, oh, you shouldn't be eating bread, and you're all right with a tangerine, but you shouldn't have an orange, or you know, whatever it was. Bad example to say that you shouldn't eat fruit, but you know. Everyone should eat fruit, but it was like that. And so, and she would give you back flower remedies, and she would give you homeopathic pills and say, right, I think you need, and again, she'd douse like all those little different jars and potions, and she'd give you all stuff, and she'd do meditation with you. And so she started saying to me, right, Judy, you shouldn't be having this. Like, I bet you get a stomach ache when you eat that, or I bet you don't feel good when you eat that. And I started thinking about it. And that probably is what helped me with, you know, my total recovery from the ME. But she really kind of got me thinking about the cause and effect of how we live our lives causes what happens with our bodies. And it was that really that completely got me into this idea of actually everything that we put into and onto and around our body has a profound effect on it.
Absolutely.
And over the years, then I've seen Dr. Emoto, you know, like the water, you must have seen
absolutely.
Water. And so, and then you sort of think to yourself, well, we are primarily water. So if I'm saying I hate the way I look, or I hate the way I feel, like what is that actually doing to our cells and the structure in our body, and does that help to make us sick? And then also, like, what happens when we think I don't want to eat something? So we look at something like kale. That not everybody loves kale, so we look at kale and we go, I hate kale, don't want to eat kale, I really hate kale. What happens to the cells in the kale? If you eat, because some people say, oh yeah, even if I eat healthy, I still don't feel well. What are you saying to yourself about that food before you eat it? And is that impacting the molecules within the food? And so there were all these kind of like random things that were happening sort of in my head and in my experience, and all culminated. And I'd actually had a conversation with somebody, and I don't think it was like a huge amount of time before my diagnosis, but I can't remember exactly when. But I can remember having this conversation and saying, if I got diagnosed, I don't think I would go down the route that they would try and send me down. But I don't know, because who knows, like when you're actually faced with that situation, perhaps you just go, actually, I'll just do anything. Just like, I'll just do anything. And you know, when I was giving birth, I said I would never have an epidural until I was like 24 or more hours into the labor, and I was just like, just give me anything, just give me anything, just get rid of this pain, just give me whatever. And so you kind of think, oh yeah, maybe I'll just cave, maybe I'm full of good intentions and I'll just cave. And so yeah, and then lo and behold, the universe has a way of providing you with the option to like, well, so what would you do then, Julie? Let's like put you in the situation. What are you going to do? Which door are you going to go through? And so, yeah, but I don't think it was just a quick random decision. I think it was like a lot of life events.
Yeah, Julie, I'm with your son. You must write a book. You have such an amazing story that people will really buy into, because you're telling it from your own experience and your own perspective, and you're giving the reasons why you chose to investigate certain routes. And I think that people will absolutely love that. And as your son says, it may be a year, it may be 10 years before, but I think, I mean,
Yeah.
both Liz and I are authors too, and I certainly for myself, the value in having written the book for myself was far more valuable than any money could ever compensate for. You know, it was,
Agreed. It's like you vomit it up and then you go on to the next thing. But yeah, so I want to say, Julie and Mark, oh my gosh, your story is incredible. I think, Julie, in part, your life path of your health has really been like a life parable, right? That now you can help others. What a journey. Sorry you had to experience it. And thank you, because are so helpful to so many of us who've been some serious health challenges. So much. I just thank you. I've been quiet because John's been handling and coming on and saying things, so I've been quiet in the background. But do you mind talking a little bit about your retreat? Like, if let's say I wanted to come, or some people wanted to come tomorrow, this sounds like such a mundane transition, I'm sorry, but I know people are going to want to know about your place as well.
yeah.
How many people can you accommodate? Whereabouts, in what region of Spain is it?
So we are in a region of Spain called the Marina Alta, which is roughly halfway between Alicante and Valencia. And both of those cities have airports. They're on the east coast of Spain. We're not on the coast, but we are not so far inland. If people wanted to fly in, if they were coming from the States and they needed to fly into Madrid or Barcelona, there are high-speed trains that will then take you to Valencia, or that will take you to Alicante, and we would then pick you up from one of those two places. Once you're in Alicante or Valencia, everything is taken care of for you. So we come and get you from the airport, like everything is provided for you. All of your dietary needs are provided for. If you've got any allergies,
Yes.
we were talking to somebody, she's got a nut allergy. Obviously, we won't have nuts on the premises while she's with us. So, we're very mindful of things like that. Our next availability isn't until January.
Okay, and how many people can you have? Like, how many people could you host, say, in your one house building you were talking about?
So we've got two properties. In one property, we've got the availability for, it depends if people want to share a room. If they don't want to share a room, then that's just a very small property for 4 people. It's particularly geared towards people that are looking to overcome something. So if somebody's got a specific health challenge, we can give more time to them, because it's a more intimate and private experience. And then our other property, it has 9 double ensuite bedrooms. So again, it depends whether people want to share or whether they want to have
some of them can be single rooms. So basically,
Yes.
the possibility is 8 be 18 people to 9 people, basically.
Yeah.
Great. That's great.
Um,
I like it.
It's very intimate. It's it's a beautiful little place,
Yeah.
basically. It is in the middle
I
of
love it.
nature.
It sounds so yummy. I just want to give a chance for people to ask questions. We have, first I'm going to ask Irene. Why don't you come on, Irene? You've been waiting a while. And then Anna, you can come on. Irene? Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story, Miss Julie. I kind of resonate everything with what you're saying with some of my own ailments and taking your power back and control of your own health and your healing journey. So I appreciate the story that you're sharing very, very much. But I do have some questions about your space that you're hosting and what you do there. And so if I wanted to come, do I have a set program that you would fill for me, or is it a free form thing? And if I do have a certain ailment, how long is the stay and how long is the program for me? Because it can vary for certain, for people. Am I correct? So can you please answer that?
yeah. So
I just think you need to split it up to the two, because there is the private
Yeah,
one,
so
and
if-
then also the group one. Yeah. So,
if you, right, so it depends I'm very happy to talk to you, by the way, offline, and we can have a private conversation and we can discuss, things that maybe you don't want aired in the public domain. So that's the first thing. So yeah, if you want to come, we tend to say that if you're just looking to reset your health, 7 days. If you're looking for something a little bit more immersive, then anything up to probably 28 days, depending on what you're looking for. In terms of what that looks like, so we put together a program for you because we get you treatments. We don't provide all the treatments, but we have specialists in all the different things. And so, but we would put together, you get a treatment, at least one treatment every single day. You get meditation every day. You get yoga every day. You get breath work, like guided breath work and guided meditations. You get automatic writing. You can get some coaching, and you get like one-on-one time with me to talk about how things are going and how things are moving. And we've got other people that will also spend time with you in that way. So it can be very, very tailored to you. Or you might just think, do you know what? I'm just going to come for just like a bit of a boost, a health reset. And then it's more of a group flow. And so, we go for a walk in the morning, like we have a shot, we go for a walk, we come back, we have our breakfast, and then we move on to what we're going to do that day. And it's broken down into different things. And we show you,
there's raw cooking as well. So
we show you how to make certain meals. We show you how to do certain things. We teach you new techniques, and we encourage you to be everything is very natural.
yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, no, it does actually. And it seems the feel that I'm getting from it is like a real community when you're in your space. Like you're really immersed in that, and which does help the healing journey for that individual. So, but
Absolutely.
I truly, truly thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, Irene. That's great. Yeah, Anna, come on, Anna.
You're on
And
mute, Anna.
you can provide Irene with my email address.
Yes, yeah. If you give us your email address, because right now we have I can find it from the website, but yeah, we'll get it. Absolutely. Anna, you want to come off mute?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Hi. Well, Irene actually covered the first question I was going to ask. But the second one is, has a family ever gone out there, or does everyone just go out there as a single lone person? Any just a small 4-person family, or
So
is
if
it
you want,
just to the person?
yeah, if you want to come as a family, we do have like we mentioned, we do have a smaller property. So if you wanted to come as a family, we could actually accommodate you as a family, like in your own space.
Yeah.
We could actually do that.
We also have a property as well, basically, that would be suitable for 5 or 6 different families at any one time, basically.
What
So-
we've actually found, and it depends what your current situation is. So what we found is that sometimes if people have a condition that they're looking to kind of move past, reverse, that sometimes they get a lot of value from coming just on their own and kind of just really focusing on their self instead of being a wife, a mother, a brother, a sister. There's actually like a lot of value of just being, it's just me. I just need to take care of me. Everyone's going to take care of me. In fact, everyone's focused on taking care of me. And there can be a huge value in that if you're looking to move past something. If you're looking for a more general like health reset, to give yourself a bit of a boost, maybe kind of move out of some aches and pains and a few
different mindset, create a different mindset,
then
basically.
coming as a family would be a great thing to do.
Okay, so very like generalized, want your whole family to reset, you can come with them. But say in my case, was born with a condition, it would be more helpful to come alone.
Yes.
What we've also done, basically, anyone who books the holiday will get a one-to-one with Julie or myself, basically. So we'll be able to assess it for you then, be absolutely honest about our opinion is for you, basically.
And again, like I said to Irene, if you want to have a conversation that's not in the public domain, I'm very happy to have a conversation with you outside of this.
Sure. That would be
and
great.
then we can discuss specifics, which
I don't want to bore everyone with my lifelong issues.
I'm sure it's not boring at all, but
It's not.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, folks. If there are no other questions at the moment, Mark and Julie, do you have final words or final thoughts you want to share, and how can we reach you?
So I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for inviting us to speak with your lovely community. And thank you to Abs and Irene for your questions, and to Jonathan for being so charming. And obviously to you. And so how can people reach us? Our website is all of the W's, stepintotranquility.com. And if people want to reach by email, if you send an email to hello@stepintotranquility.com, then that will reach us, and I will and then I can personally respond to you, and we can set up time to talk.
Right, I'm at your contact page. The website's your email's at your website, and also you have a contact form, so that's great at the website. Perfect. John, you want to finish?
I think I've already added your details to the chewy.earth website already, so people can already look you up there if they want to check out the I think it's the video the websites and resources, links and resources on the website. But
Excellent.
yeah, wow, thank you so much.
Sorry to interrupt you, John. I'm just excited. I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story. It's been such a journey. It's very heartwarming how you just decided no to the medical establishment. Sometimes we need it, but often we don't. And that you are sharing your journey and your knowledge with others instead of keeping it under a bushel, as it were. So thank you so much for your incredible story and your incredible retreat space you have to offer.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to stop the recording.